Okay, give me a second. I was not amply prepared in time like I should have been. Close those. Get this open. Not going to load the text for me, are you? So I have to fully type it out. Two over here. I don't even think we're going to need that all that much, honestly. And while we wait for people to show up, we can upload the oil production graphs. Since I finished all of those, I just have not, oh, we're right here on the front page. Awesome. Get your AI off my screen. So down under the description, for anybody who's new, blah, 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 go down under here. And beneath the PayPal and Patreon links, there's the free access drive link. This takes you to this Google Drive folder that has all of these different types of graphs that I maintain and try to keep updated, like CO2, gigatons per year emissions graphs. Just finished updating those, and then more monthly stuff like the oil production graphs, which we're going to start uploading some of the more updated versions of right now. Also have U.S. oil production by state graphs as well. We're just going to update some stuff while we wait to see who does or does not show up. Got four people already, actually. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and I'm going to assume that you're a troll, very briefly. A single evidence to the contrary, and then we're going right back to the standard policy. Okay, let's replace a few of these while we wait. Seems that 8 or 10 is the number of people that usually show up now. So once I see it at 8 or 10, then I'll just start. All right, there's the updated one for Congo, the regular Congo, the small one that's actually stable, not the giant one that's been in a five-way civil war for the last, I think we're going on 60 years now. Let's see. Azerbaijan, over time, has now officially declined by half. Where are you, Azerbaijan? There you are. Oops. Yeah, just take last part off of it. Switch that out. Is it? Let me check. Okay. Forgot to take the tail portion off on that one. Yeah, I have all these. The compiled video of all the latest levels will be up probably tonight, maybe, hopefully, if I'm on time with things. I'll give it like one more minute, then we're just going into it. I did unmute. Okay, just want to make sure. I don't think there was really that much on over on Twitter in terms of like stuff to bookmark. Yeah, not that much. Uh, Russia bombed some more apartment buildings because what else are they going to do with their time, I guess. So we'll get to all the related stuff in a second. Replace the Australia graph with the updated edition. And then I'll upload the rest later. Yeah, that drive folder is always there. Like I said, that's free to access for anybody The only stuff that's buying any kind of paid access is not anything that anyone comes to the channel to see, and that's some stuff related to my original series. That being the actual like some pages of the actual like episode screenplays themselves. That's the only thing that's behind any kind of paid wall ever. But all the visual stuff, like the concept art that Anya does for the show, is like always free to see. But all that's over on Patreon exclusively. Let's see. We'll get into that in a second. There was just a few other things outside of that. One more of the mega ground freight logistics warehouses was burned down after strikes in Russia. This time the one in Bashkortostan over there. So that's now tallied up as, I think, Belgorod. I'm not sure. It was one of the border ones. Voronezh, Tula, Ryazan, the two for the Moscow region, Vladimir, Yaroslavl, the two up near St. Petersburg, the Tatarstan one, the, I think, Perm one over there, the Krasnodar one, Volgograd, Penza, and Samara. So all those massive distribution centers have been burned down. And then the refineries that have been struck and heavily damaged is too large of a list for me to start Xing stuff off on. But Ukraine did get strikes in again on the northern export terminal, which, I suspected they would eventually, since they've kind of dead stopped the Black Sea and Sea of Azov stuff after 200 plus ships individually have been hit and taken out of commission or disabled, plus all the damage to the port of Novorossiysk. So the oil and natural gas and refined products export terminal up at St. Petersburg is getting hit again. These the part that was specifically hit last night this time was a refined products loading portion, as opposed to some of the actual just regular crude oil loading terminals. Those were damaged previously, but oil exporting countries also do exports like refined products that typically get shipped in smaller tankers, but there are tankers out there that like ship, as in tanker vessels that ship, a full bulk cargo of gasoline or of diesel, or might have separate compartments in the ship for each different product. But the refined products loading terminal for the smaller products tankers, that was it. And I think that was everything specific from up there, other than uh, the full cutoff axe off of Crimea is entering its like final stages, as Sevastopol was the last place where they were still like maintaining a decent amount of electricity after all the substations, power lines, and other power plants were like hit across the peninsula. And all the supply trucks and stuff coming along the southern route are constantly getting taken out by drone strikes. All the ferries and smaller cargo ships that would normally cross over have been hit and disabled. And Russia really doesn't want to run things across the bridge because they don't want the bridge to become a target. But even Sevastopol is now without power, as the uh, Balaklava power plant in Sevastopol was dealt substantial damage the other night. Some massive holes punched in it. There is one of them. It looks like a black patch, like just a big black patch on the building, but that's where a bunch of stuff caved in after substantial damage was done. And uh, that has left the peninsula with just a 129 megawatt gas slash diesel plant, which is not enough for the entire peninsula, let alone even just enough for the city of Sevastopol. So they're going into the grand finale peninsula blackout. Italy, after so long, actually maybe grew its balls back. They shot down some Russian drones that actually entered into Baltic airspace. So maybe not going to assume too much, but if Romania can do it, you can do it too, Italy. Come on. Gas lines, fuel queues, shortages, and everything are back at the fuel stations, even in Moscow again, which, they kind of had managed to keep off the list for a little bit by doing extra diversion and siphoning from other locales to make sure that the 20-ish million people in the Moscow area, aka the government's like most dependable taxpayers, etc., stayed nice and happy. But now that veneer is starting to crack again after they sort of restored it for about a month or so. Now it's starting to fracture up. Did we get anybody else? uh, I mean, that's up to you. If someone is like, if I mean, if someone's giving you uh like perfect information or at least near perfect information in all other avenues, and then in one area is just going on like a paid grift or something, then I mean, morally, I would ditch the person immediately. But if you, if they're like, you're the best way you found to get like compiled information really quick on specific stuff, and you don't want to ditch that, then like, don't, I guess. I've got a bunch. We got more people in now. Okay, you just showed up last few minutes. Scroll back 12 minutes. That's when we started. Okay, so the big news that title is based off of is the strait is still closed. It was already closed uh, 3 weeks ago, or technically 5 weeks ago, when the war restarted. And then, as soon as the war stopped again for the second time, Trump declared that the strait was open. It wasn't. And then, after after 2 weeks of it being still closed, even after the war stopped for the second time, after it was quote unquote, and these were the exact actual words, it was paused. After 2 weeks of that and failed negotiations, Iran, as I said on Tuesday, said that the current U.S. administration is just not worth dealing with. So they're just going to wait all the way until 2029. And uh, blockade or no blockade, they'll just suffer and take it because they know Americans are whiny and pathetic and will eventually start caving once the shields start wearing out, like not being able to drain the SPR to keep suppressing prices anymore and everything else associated with that. And actually, speaking of the SPR, so again, started with 430 million barrels in storage, supposed to be used for actual emergencies, not for price suppression. So we've been drawing it out. It's slowed down a bit for a few weeks, but now it's picked up speed again. Now that the strait is, completely shut again. So like I said last week, we got down to just below 300, and on Wednesday, each week, the number for the week ending the previous Friday releases. And so 2 days ago on Wednesday, the number for the end of last week released. And correct, it was 298 million. And we picked up speed again after slowing down to only dropping 4 to 5 million barrels per week. We're back down to dropping between 7 and 8 million barrels per week. So it's been a week, obviously, since last Friday when that data is referring to. Thusly, we're most likely now down to only 290 million barrels remaining. And legally, supposedly, it's not supposed to be allowed to be drawn below 250. It's actually supposed to be like all the way back up at 800 million if it were actually being kept full responsibly. And in terms of its like floor, when you would really not be able to suck that much more out of it would be somewhere around 140 and 160 if it gets down to there. But the rate at which it can be withdrawn from is decreasing as there's less and less in there, so there's less and less pressure in the system. So upon the start of us drawing from it, it had a like upper limit of being able to possibly draw as much as 4+ million barrels per day from it. And as of uh, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I forget which, it was down to an estimated roughly 2.8 million barrels per day of maximum draw capacity. It's probably a bit further down than that now. So we'll say probably maybe 2.6, maybe 2.5 is the max currently. Although we're not attempting to draw from it at that amount. We're back up to 7 or 8 million barrels per week, but per day, obviously, that translates to sucking out 1.1 or 1.2 million barrels per day. So if we keep, if we do keep going down further, ignoring the legal boundary, if we keep going down further and further, then we're eventually, if this continues, going to reach a point where we are we actually get a meeting point of the rate at which we're trying to draw it out and the rate at which it can be drawn out. And then there's the end of your price suppression capabilities. And also, there's the other strategic reserves around the world, which they don't publish like weekly data. Some of them give vague updates occasionally. Like Japan started the Iran war with over 400 million barrels in strategic storage. They are down to somewhere in the upper 200s. I think they're like around 280, but they might be at 270, so don't quote me on that directly. China keeps tight-lipped about theirs, but math is math and works no matter who's doing it. So they started with theoretically 1.3 billion in storage, and at the rate that they've been drawing, accounting for the different fluctuating variables like the different fall, then rise, now gradual decline again of their domestic consumption, the amounts that they were sending out to other heavily dependent import nations like the Philippines and Vietnam. We have a rough idea that they are probably now down somewhere between 1.1 and 1.15 billion. As of now, a few weeks after getting into this range, they're likely closer to 1.1, but we won't know for sure until, or we won't be able to say like for certain until a couple more weeks pass and they cross over the probability threshold into being somewhere like being guaranteed to be somewhere between 1.05 and 1.1. But now that the strait is closed again, everyone's drawing down their strategic reserves. Nobody wants to actually feel that abrupt economic kick to the nuts. And I mean, I will -5% not blame people, but then again, I will 6,000% absolutely blame everyone because doing something like this is stupid. Even like the US doing all of this to begin with is stupid, but doing the price suppression ostrich head in the sand nonsense, hoping it all just solves itself somehow, that is equally stupid. Countries, so countries that I would otherwise typically call smart, a lot of you are now also being just as stupid. But apart from Iran's declaration that the strait is closed, and two ships this week did try to cross at different points. They were struck and disabled, and there was an oil spill somewhere around Oman. Thankfully, Oman, it did not wash into the area. It did not start coming up on the shore or the beach coastal area where most of Oman's population is, which is obviously in one city. So it's not going into their water desalination plants yet. And they're also not as reliant on desalination as they do have the mountains. They do actually get rainfall and they do have some groundwater. Uh, but if currents shift and like some of that shifts back around to Dubai, for example, there's going to be some problems. Don't worry, Dubai will keep enough. Dubai will make sure there's enough uh, drinkable fresh water for like the actual rich Emirati citizens. It's all the imported like Indian and Bangladeshi slave workers that are going to be the ones who get to drink poison water. So aside from Iran declaring that, Trump did three back and forth flip flops over the course of the week. First, he did his. Let me try to do a stick figure graph guy here. Let's do it. Really generic shoulder shrug, dude. He did his like shoulder shrug thing and said, and I quote, "It'll work itself out somehow." That were his those are his actual words. So that was for 2 days. Then he got really angry, and after Iran didn't change its mind after 2 days and said, did the thing again where he said he's going to annihilate Iran and it's going to cease to exist, and that Iran should actually pay America reparations. And then today he switched again. He dropped that whole bit, but he is back to sort of calmly insisting that the strait is fine. It will be open soon because now, according to him, after all the other random nonsense, now apparently he wants to annex the Strait of Hormuz and quote unquote it's going to be a U.S. territory. So he's just throwing whatever wherever. And again, despite the absurdity of the deficit we're still under, the market does not care. The trading is just being done by AI bots now that have been algoed to just run off of Trump tweets or run off of the latest possible like good news articles that randomly get puked out about how there's totally eminently a peace deal like 2 days around the corner, even though there isn't. Decent news though. Again, after that brief push back north a little bit, it looks like that was a one city thing. The IDF has so far not been going back up. It actually looks like the whole IDF Lebanese army agreement thing is holding. However, there are now new issues as right after the stream on Tuesday when I said Israel's probably going to try to start doing stuff in Syria. They started doing stuff in Syria, bombing stuff, shooting at farmers, assaulting fields, all the whole 9 yards. So small scale at the moment, probably for better optics. I guess Netanyahu wants to, uh, let me draw a dude with a stick. Probably wants to prod Syria into being the one to at least look like they're starting the thing, even though it's 2026, everyone has access to the internet, everybody knows that it's you who's starting the thing here. But he probably wants to at least poke Syria into doing something aggressive first, I guess, before going like full Gaza mode on it. We'll have to see where that leads to inevitably, though. Is there anything else I missed? Oh, yeah, the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier is getting replaced. It's on its way out. George Washington is replacing it because after the Gerald Ford was out there for almost 10 months, the Abe Lincoln was out there for almost 10 months because Hegseth, the slick back hair, like car salesman dude, uh, doesn't think that doesn't think that soldiers need to like ever go home or anything, or that they need like I guess resupplies. Be, I mean the weird obsession with like language, the deodorant and the shampoo and like the soap and body wash and stuff that they were running short of on the ship was probably labeled under like cosmetic products or something on the list of things that were logistically being like sent to the ships at sea. And so Hegseth probably thought that was like beauty products for female sailors or something. So he probably told them to like stop shipping that gay stuff. But, being too stupid to realize that cosmetic products means shampoo and deodorant and toothpaste and soap, both for the bathroom and for like the showers. So they ended up having a massive shortage of all those things. And so it was not pleasant, still isn't pleasant. But they're on their way home now. The George Washington is replacing them and is probably also going to go sit there for 10 months. Uh, just like the just like the Gerald Ford before both of them. The only difference this time was that on the Abraham Lincoln, the crew did not start fires in the laundry rooms to uh, force a early return. The Abe Lincoln crew did not do that. Quite a number of them did try to commit suicide, though. So maybe the George Washington crew can not do the suicide attempts, but just set the ship on fire. That works much easier, and the actual like people in the chain of command in the Navy, not slick back hair Nazi nipple tattoo guy, uh, are very clearly not actually investigating that because they're clearly protecting the actual sailors on the carriers because they know that all of this is like insane, ridiculous, grandstanding nonsense. Uh, they did they did admit in at least an initial findings report that yeah, it almost certainly was an intentional fire on the Gerald Ford, but they are very clearly holding back on actually like doing anything. Partly for that reason, because they're more on the side of the actual sailors themselves, and also the amount of the crew that would be implicated, like the sheer number or percentage of them, would probably be a bit too damaging to like indict or anything. But yeah, that's still going on. That's still all closed. And like I said last time, the 2029 date not only is like the next US president swearing, but it also lines up perfectly with when the next with when like all the pipeline stuff would be finished, because there's the one pipeline from Saudi Arabia that gets 5 out of their 7 million exports out, the one in UAE which gets 2 million out of their now would be three out, and there's the Iraq pipelines up through Turkey that get about 1 million out of their exports out. But in progress, to be finished in the first couple months of next year, is the second UAE pipeline, which will get the rest of their exports out. The Iraq Syria pipeline will get close to another, I think, 600, 700,000 of Iraq stuff out. The Saudi pipeline, the second one, will get the rest of their exports out. That should be 2028, late 2028. And then in 2029, maybe, yeah, probably 2029, the Kuwaiti tie-in and the Qatari tie-ins to the Saudi and UAE pipelines, respectively, will also be complete. And then probably 2030 instead of 2039, but it depends. That'll be close to when the Iraqi Jordan pipeline will also be complete. So it also aligns like perfectly with not just the next more reasonable US administration, but also by 2029, most of the dependent Persian Gulf leverage will be sort of negated anyways. So either so it works from either end basically, and Iran's just going to wait it out, and they're a bit more adept at suffering than the modern U.S. is. So at some point, someone's going to give, and really isn't going to be Iran, because I mean, we're kind of at the point where there's not much more we can do. Like, destroyed the Air Force, destroyed the Navy, destroyed a lot of the factories, but and killed the leadership multiple times. Usually, the idea is against a conventional enemy that doing that kind of wins and gets them to give up. But the guys who filled the vacuum just didn't give up, and they kind of like have a high view of martyrdom. So that's not really going to work. The threat of death isn't really going to work. That's part of the issue with also with like dealing with like jihadist groups. So there's not like there's not more capacity we can degrade really, because now we're down to really quick like one or two Shaheed launches being popped out of the back of like, for the sake of a joke, we'll just say a Scooby-Doo van, like just throwing doors open, and a Shaheed drone comes out of the back with a little rocket firing and goes and strikes an oil tanker somewhere in the strait. And we could like set up a destroyer wall or something, but there'd be a limited distance to how much that could cover in terms of using cheaper munitions, like the CIWS chain gun cannon thing. Uh, if you did like a more thin line across a large distance, then you'd be using missiles to shoot down the drones, which we already know about the cost discrepancy issue with that. So there's really not much more you can do other than try killing the leadership again and just hope it works this time. So someone's going to have to give, and at this point, it's almost certainly not going to be the Iranian regime. But like Trump really doesn't care about telling lies anyway, so you really just just do the thing, claim that you won, and just, just leave. And then and anytime someone points out the truth, you can just, call it fake news or whatever. You've done that for literally everything else that you've ever done. Anytime someone points out some true disgusting demonic trait of yours, or point out like literal crimes that you've done or been complicit in, you've just said fake news, and then everyone just ignores it afterwards. So why not do it again? So situation has not changed. Market still doesn't care, but you can't keep doing that forever, or else you hit the brick wall, just like silver prices did, remember? $20, $20, $20, $20, $20 should have been doing this, but it was $20, $20, $20, $100, and now back down to like $70 or $80 usually. So now the market, partially because of all the AI algorithm BS, is now just being forced onto that same collision pathway with a brick wall. Some random items: the US exceeded its electricity demand record. The previous was in 2024 at 743 gigawatts of demand load on the grid at one particular time. This year, a few days ago, the record was broken with, I believe it was, I don't think it was three, I'm pretty sure it was just two, 752 gigawatts of demand load placed on the grid. With the majority of the new upward US electricity demand drive coming from, you guessed it, AI data centers, things that everybody wants and loves in their neighborhood or anywhere nearby them. They're very quiet and peaceful, I hear. Okay, let me check on you guys. Uh, let's see. I have okay, that is not something I've ever heard. Even from military people, I've never heard that said. But I also might just be Gundam pilled because I've watched so many Gundam series, and so I got used to orbital combat ship commanders always just shouting out the full term CIWS. Let's see. Uh, I don't know, maybe, but it's a bit more reliable to actually use the rocket catapult thing. Since more and more people showed up, if you showed up in the middle of everything, you can get what you missed. Just scroll back along the timeline. Wow, we've been going way longer than I thought. Uh, yeah, I don't know what they're literally being launched from. I was using the van assumption because that would keep it hidden from any potential airstrikes, and also because Taiwan, for the upcoming invasion on China's part, is practicing that specifically, since there are, I think they said, 140,000 different like small what you would consider in the US like an ice cream truck sized van or a work van or a pedo abduction van, I guess. They not all of them were obviously driving around all the time, but there's that many on the island. And in the event of the invasion beginning, the Taiwanese military has already contacted like most of the companies that own them, and they're all voluntarily in on the plan that they will be uh, if needed, the military will send drivers for them if the company's drivers don't want to do it when the time comes. But the vans will be like dispersed to random spots, like all over the place, so that it will be just cluttered with them. And they've practiced hiding stuff inside these vans, like little triple units of smaller, cheaper, like anti-aircraft missiles or Taiwan's own version of like the Shahid the anti-ship version of like a Shahid drone. And so it's part of the hiding idea is that there's like 140,000 of these, and maybe a few thousand of them might have some stuff in them, but you're gonna have to blow through the munitions to strike all 140 plus thousand of them to actually guarantee that you take out the threat completely. And Taiwan already, uh, similar to how on like vehicles and Humvees now we have sort of the auto turret that is controlled usually from within the vehicle by someone operating a joystick, but can be controlled from a different point or a different vehicle as long as you have good connection. These Taiwan is setting it up so these will be remotely operated. And there's like a little things, I don't know if they're hardcore like robo springs or whatever, or they're small directional charges that will just like blow the doors off the back when the moment comes for it. But unlike us at the moment, Taiwan has been watching Ukraine and the Middle East conflicts and is actually being adept at something called learning, which is already was already a skill we collectively in the US were like mocking ourselves for the concept of learning being gone from our society in general, but we seemed to, up to this point, think that military strategic decision making was a bit immune from the loss of learning capacity. However, that's not entirely the case. There are clearly still enough smart people in the military. Uh, Otherwise, everything would have been done however you could imagine, like Trump exactly childishly crayon drawing wanted it to be done. But there's been quite a degradation, clearly. Let me chug some water. Also, the probable cause manufactured consent thing for Cuba is still being ramped at the moment. Uh, like even after Cuba itself has become so like detached from actual communism at this point, and again after their government has already agreed to acquiesce to any demands we make of them, except for removing them themselves from the seat of power. Like they'll transition to whatever government we ask. They've already agreed to this as long as they still get to be like the parliament or the presidential cabinet of whatever that new type of government happens to be. But uh, we're still apparently gonna do something there anyways, because Trump and Nazi nipple guy want to flex now, now that the whole Iran thing backfired. So they want to bomb somebody at some point, but they've been putting out tweets and little quick TikTok TikTok length attention span speeches about how Cuba is an imminent threat and we can no longer have the risk of the risk of the spread of communism. Like dudes are like talking straight out of 1950, like just straight up ripping off McCarthy speeches or something. Dude, nobody is actually doing any communism anymore. Like there are two countries that still insist that their country and their government is communist, but they are the now the least communist countries out of all the countries that were formerly communist. Like if the definition of communism you're going with is like everything is completely state controlled, then the closest thing to that would be North Korea. But there's no like communist idealism there, though. It is just a dynasty cult. Like it is just a closed off national cult. Or not that most of the people actually believe it. Uh, that is a mistake a lot of us in the West or just outside North Korea in general make, that escapees and defectors will tell you is not the truth that you think it is. Like the idea that all 26 million people are like brainwashed and they all uh, are they're true believers and they worship the Kim dynasty. Everyone from like the last 20 plus years who's gotten out uh, has told the same thing now, that in present day, no, like where it's tipped over to the majority of the country knows well and thoroughly what they are and what's actually going on, but they still fall in line because they're going to get killed if they don't. But the amount of people in North Korea who like know the truth versus those who like legitimately would weep over Kim Jong Un when he inevitably dies of obesity induced heart failure tomorrow. Uh, the scales have well and since tipped, but no one's like doing anything inside, obviously, because they'll get tied to a post and apparently shot with an artillery shell. At least if you personally piss off the bobblehead baby himself, that is. But uh, should he die tomorrow, there is now, I know I've mentioned this a few times before, there's now a high likelihood there would be some kind of fracture and split amongst like the loyalty of the generals to his sister versus his like 14-year-old daughter. So especially if he dropped dead like right now, for example, uh, and while his daughter is still literally 14 years old, because then it would actually be the choice between swearing your undying allegiance to an adult or to a 14-year-old teenager. Uh, but even so, even if she gets to adulthood before he dies from a heart attack because he's like 300 plus pounds, there's still going to be a split after that because his sister, while she is a legitimately like morally detached psychopath, as are they all, but she is beyond him or his dad or their dad. Uh, she is like a intelligent, competent person, whereas for the moment they don't really know how his daughter might turn out. But the competency with each Kim generation has gone down, as you know, they're all kind of just spoiled nepo babies, and that tends to be what happens. I mean, look at like Elon Musk, for example. He's Gen 3. So they're not all too confident about like how the daughter would turn out anyways. So there's going to be a split when that inevitably happens. I'm not saying or nor do I know whether it would like end up in like an actual civil war over that, but to whatever extent it like goes to or how long it lasts for, there is definitely going to be some kind of split internally, like a fracture of loyalty when he inevitably dies. And he will be going earlier than his granddad or his dad. He's not making it to 80 anything. I'm wondering if they actually whoever made them initially is still making the Kim Jong Un bobbleheads. I hope they didn't get killed. They're not from Korea, obviously, but North Korea has killed people outside of North Korea before for uh, insulting the dearest leader. Like I think if I remember correctly, they hacked PlayStation Network and like brought down PlayStation for a couple days back in let's see, it was back during Black Ops 1 back in 2010, I think, after it came out, because like the creators of Black Ops 1 were like making fun of Kim Jong Un, and so he got pissed, and he had his North Korean hacker army take down PSN somehow for a few days. Uh, I don't know which Saddam Hussein meme. Do you mean Baghdad Bob? Because that's a different dude. That was why would I be looking up her? Go into my Kazakhstan thing. There you go. That's everybody's favorite. Do you mean this? Because that's Baghdad Bob. That's a totally different dude. No, that's what Russia's. That's more of what Russia is constantly doing about how none of the none of the drone strikes actually made it to any of their oil refineries, and everything is okay. And all the footage of the oil refineries like exploding is just AI. That's probably going to be it. Ooh, $2, thanks. Okay, troll. Thank you for positively identifying yourself. Oh, I didn't scroll up. Otherwise, I would have identified people. This is what I get for not having Josh here. But Josh also is supposed to be streaming right now. Let's check. Is he? He is not. Okay. He's probably dead. I'll have to message him and wake him up after this. Endercat is streaming, though. Ew, he's streaming Destiny. You disappoint me, buddy. But you're a Zoomer, so what did I expect? Though actually, no, maybe I should give Endercat credit for playing Destiny. I mean, I'll give it like 2%. I'll label it 2% better than uh regular Zoomer slop like Fortnite or whatever. All right, unless anything else shows up. then that's probably going to be it. You showed up late, scroll back on the timelines. It's still accessible, always back up about 50 minutes. Nothing specific really happened, so I really thought this was only going to last like half an hour. But I ended up getting sent off on side tangent stuff. I do think I'm forgetting about something. I think it was some degree, some degree of like some tech development, like actual technology, like things that advances humanity. When I say tech, I don't mean what common culture refers to as tech, which is things that you would classify a tech bro as, like talking about, like the latest Gen AI app for the iPhone 1700, which costs $5,000. Well, as usual, whatever it is not coming to mind. I will try to be responsible and actually write things down on my like notebook sheet like I used to. But I also said that last time, I think. All right, I don't see anything else. So that's it. The oil production levels video, the oil production levels video should be up either very late tonight or sometime tomorrow. Bro, I have no idea what you're even talking about. If it's some Zoomer stuff, don't even try to come at me. And anyone who says 6'7" is getting banned. But that's it. I will see you guys around next time.